Yeah, hello. I'm Daniel Gruen. I'm a writer and a director, and directed The Amazing Richard. And I also do social media videos for small businesses. So this is a passion project, and I'm so excited to be here with the Brentwood Press. Isaac, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming down. Could you tell us a little bit more about The Amazing Richard?
So The Amazing Richard is a short film, and it's a horror movie, but it's really a comedy. But nobody laughs if you say it's a comedy. So we're calling it a horror movie. And essentially, I can't say too much because it's a 6-minute film, but it's about a deranged magician that believes magic is real. And he's really deranged. And so I won't give too much away, but he gets a new assistant for his magic show. And the rest, well, I guess the rest is the movie. you have to watch it.
And so you entered into the Indie Vegas Short Film Festival, right? And it
Indie
premiered
Vegas, I brought my festival badge. Yes, my first time in Vegas since 16, so that was an experience.
All right, cool. And how did you learn about the film festival?
So it's a really hard process. I know you do some films as a filmmaker. You know, you're always looking for opportunities to screen your movie once it gets made, right? And there's not a lot of opportunities. It's not like it's all the places in the world are lining up to screen your movies, right? So you have to look. It's not a big thing. You know, these film festivals are nonprofits usually. And so there's a website, you know, you can go submit to these film festivals. And Indie Vegas was the first one to get back, which I thought was perfect because it's about a deranged magician. And Vegas is like, you know, known for magic, right? So I was like, oh, this is a great place to premiere our movie about a deranged magician and make an excuse to go to Vegas out of it. But it was great. I got to meet the other filmmakers at the festival. It's a second annual Indie Vegas festival. Peter and John are the two guys that run it. I've got to meet them now, and they run some other festivals in LA. So that was really cool. By the way, we should have a film festival here in Brentwood. So if anybody is interested in collaborating, maybe you'd like to collaborate on that. We should figure out. Maybe the press does, but this would be a great opportunity. I know there's a lot of student films, right, and also local filmmakers, and it would be great not to have to go all the way to Vegas, or to LA to screen a movie. A lot of film festivals are in LA.
Yeah, well, we have the theater right across the street. I think that'd be, great.
Right?
They do a lot of little community stuff and things like that. So
Yeah, and with cherry picking season,
oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
it would
throw
be
it in there.
perfect. Everybody is here for cherry picking, and instead of just going right home, stay
Yeah.
for a movie.
And yeah, we should have a film festival. I think, and we, hopefully we can work on that or something. The press and stuff, because I think that's a great idea.
Why not?
Yeah.
Let me know how I can help.
Yeah. But let's get back to the movie real quick. Well, actually, let's go back. Let's ask a little bit about you. How long have you been in Brentwood?
We moved just over 2 years ago, and we moved from Dublin. I grew up in Berkeley, and I didn't even know Brentwood existed. And then I discovered Brentwood while living in Dublin, and this is like a gem. I mean, this is like a little hidden gem, not so hidden, I guess, anymore. Because I hear stories when I was just like a little town, right? But it still feels like a small town to me, and I just love it. We just love it here. We live just around the corner. Having the historic Brentwood Press building, and the small town restaurants and everything. We love Brentwood. No, I love this area, and it's incredible. And yeah, people come from all over the world here, I guess, for cherry picking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who knew?
What is it that interested you about Brentwood? Like that you heard about it and you were like, I gotta check this out.
For me, it was, my wife and I are looking for a home. Like, where are we going to buy a home? And this is just like with the work from home situation, it allowed us to kind of expand where we might buy. And then it opened up Brentwood, and I discovered Brentwood. And I'm like, whoa, this is perfect, And it's crazy to think, the homes aren't really like what's affordable, but compared to the Bay Area, right? Other parts of the Bay. So, yeah, we really feel like we lucked out with this.
And you're also a real estate videographer on the side, right? Like you do that as a.
Yeah. My specialty really is video marketing, like social media videos for real estate agents, but also small businesses. Like I work with a private school, doing social media marketing videos, a nonprofits as well. So yeah.
It kind of works out because there's a lot of real estate going up on here. You know, they're building homes all the time and stuff. So.
Yeah, well, the thing I love about that is, I filmed hundreds of weddings. Like that's really cut my teeth on filmmaking. I went to UC Santa Barbara, studied film, and then I lived in LA working on multi-million-dollar movie sets, but not very long before I moved back home to Berkeley and filmed hundreds of weddings over 10, 15-year period, hundreds of weddings all over the place. And why weddings? Because I had to pay the bills, right? And I didn't want to live in LA schlepping around. It's not glamorous working on a film set. I don't know, it looks, they make it look glamorous, but it's like a modern day factory, really. So it was really cool to get that experience. And now I'm able to apply that. I really don't do weddings anymore, but to apply this filmmaking to real estate clients. But I don't want to make this like a commercial for my real estate business. Yeah.
No, you're doing great. Could you tell us a little bit more about your experience in LA? Was it that factory thing that kind of like took you off and you're like, I don't really want to do this, or?
It was, I would have done more movies in LA as a PA, as a production assistant, which is like the schlepping coffee, here sir, but it's really cool. You have a headset, you hear everything that's going on set, you're seeing how the director interacts with the actors, and I was actually directing the background extras. So like having the cars, reset and everybody goes back, and then you put people in their position and then you have them go. So it was a really cool experience, but could I see myself doing that like 10 years? Yeah, I could see myself getting jaded from that. And I saw the writing on the wall, and like people that were my mentors were saying the way to be a director is not being a PA. You don't work up the ladder and then become a movie director through PA work. You just become a higher up PA. Like you move up the factory, but you don't become like the owner of the factory, which is kind of like the director, right, of the movie. So I thought, I could write movies from anywhere, and I do. I write screenplays, and like I hear we should collaborate because you write too, but you don't have to be in LA to write. It helps once you have something written to be in LA, and you can like, here's my script. Will you read it? No, I won't read it. But at least you're there in LA and you can like try.
Right.
Funny story, by the way. I heard there's a coffee shop in Santa Monica. They'll only hire you if you sign something that says you will not give your script to any of the patrons that walk in, because it's so common. Everybody has a screenplay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So that was a little bit my experience in LA.
Yeah. Yeah, I do hear about that and stuff. What's his name? Ryan Gosling has a great anecdote of it's full of Don Quixotes that are all striving to make it, and it's funny because like some of them will, some of them won't, or you have to have that confidence when you're down there. It's sort of like believing in yourself, but
yeah,
sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
I think when you look at the people that are successful over there, and maybe in anything, they're willing to like help other people, and I don't know what that is of like, but I think it's more than just coincidence that the people at the top are willing to help. Like, and I've found that when I've reached out to mentors, like a lot of people won't give you the time of day, but every once in a while somebody will, and and they've no reason to. Why? They're gonna take your phone call. They're gonna listen to you. They're gonna give you a minute, right? So people are out there and they will help, and it's surprising because sometimes they are like. And that's probably what makes them successful in a lot of ways, that they're willing to not just make it all about themselves. And so I try to learn that if I ever make it to the top.
Right. Let's see, where was I? I'm sorry, I just went off on a little bit. And then, so how many people do you think were in the audience approximately when you featured your film?
It was about halfway full. It was enough where during the movie you can hear the audience reaction, right? So like, I don't want to give it away, but there are points in the movie when it'd be nice if it gets a laugh, and he usually does when I'm having my test screenings with like family and friends. But this was the first time in a movie theater where I got to see like, is it gonna work? And if you go to a test screening, like Hollywood will have these test screenings, and this is the biggest, I think, asset of having your movie in a movie theater. It's not like, oh, I get to see my movie in the movie theater. It's like, oh, you get to see if your movie works. And I think you need to have a movie theater at least halfway filled for that, right? If it's just a few people, you won't feel it. But if it's, a somewhat full movie theater, you get those reactions, and that's what you live for. And you're like, oh, people laughed when they didn't not laugh when they were supposed to laugh, which would be kind of devastating, right? And then it's a horror movie, so you can hear people like, oh, there weren't any like screams, but you could hear, like, I could hear people sitting around being like, oh, like there was an uncomfortable feeling, especially at certain parts, and in 6 minutes, like for me, it's like, okay, you can't do much in 6 minutes, right? But can you get people like to feel something, not necessarily like a complex emotion, but if you get them to be like kind of uneasy, or they laugh and then they're uneasy and they laugh again, it's okay. Hopefully that's a memorable experience.
Yeah, it always feels like a straight high that you get when people are laughing at the points you want them to laugh and getting scared and stuff. You did your job correctly. You entertained them.
Only a filmmaker, I think, really can understand that, like seeing it and then getting that reaction. We live for that.
Right. And what theater did this play out?
This was at the Galaxy Canary theater. So it's a movie theater built into the casino there. The Galaxy, so it's part of the Galaxy Theaters, and then the Canary Resort and Casino. So they call it the Galaxy Canary. And Google, if you Google it, the Galaxy Canary. Yeah. It was nice. It was really big. It had like the laser projection. It had the surround sound. It was a nice theater. Yeah, it was really cool.
Do you happen to know if they like do any other stuff there? Like, they feature other films or stuff, or they play movies all the time, or?
It's just a regular movie theater. They just felt like regular movies. They were playing movies while our festival was going on, but they had like designated theaters inside for our festival, so it was cool. It had like Indie Vegas, and it had, and they had a red carpet and they had a photographer, which is really cool. I really should have been there, like, poaching the general public. Like, hey, come to our screening. Don't see, what was playing. Star Wars, see our movie, But then we had maybe more than half a theater. But I have no complaints. It was nice that we had anybody watching. It was nice.
Do you remember what day it was that film? Like was it May or something? Or
the screening was Friday, May 25th. No, April 25th. We're in May right now. Yeah.
Okay, April 25th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Friday at 6:00.
Was yours the first film to play at that time, or?
No. So they have screenings going on for. It was from Wednesday through Sunday. And mine was on Friday at 6, which is a great time slot, right? I was like, oh yeah. But they had movies playing the whole time. Hundreds of movies playing all around the world. And I met filmmakers from Maryland and from New York, from all over. Not a great opportunity to have your movie screened. So when you get that, people really fly in. And it was really nice.
Was yours the first to play for that night? Like for that day, or did they have ones before, earlier, like during the day or afternoon?
Screening's going on all day. They're going on all day, so they're blocked. Like you have screening blocks. So I think the first screening block's at 10 a.m. And they go all the way till 7, right? So they're just and there's people at the festival. There's people at the movie theater, right? The whole time. So people are coming out. Oh, did you filmmakers coming out from this theater and then talking about their screenings with other filmmakers that coming out of this theater, right? And so it's really a networking opportunity to talk. Most of the people in the movie theater are filmmakers or friends and family of the filmmakers that are there, right? That are coming into the screening. Because how else are you going to hear about it, right? It's not like a huge festival. It's an independent film festival for indie films, low budget films, right? And so it's really a great networking opportunity. And if people are live nearby, it's great to event, I guess, to see films you wouldn't otherwise get to see because they can't be shown anywhere. You can't find them on the internet. You're not allowed to stream them, until your festival run is over. Um, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's mostly a networking opportunity, I think, for other filmmakers to meet people and say, hey, these are the projects we're working on. Oh, wow, I really like your film. Let's work together. Or I really like your film. Or you're a cool actor. We should work together. Right? To get together, not live isolated. The film festivals bring us together.
Yeah, right. Did you see any like big names, or did you meet anybody who struck you as like, man, this guy, his film or whatever, I had to see it and I had to talk to him? Or...
Yeah. There was really I'm trying to give you some news. Like I feel like I haven't given you anything juicy really. Um, there was a I don't know how you can write about this, but it was a guy who's like he was like literally like dressed up like Jesus, and he says like I'm the blonde Jesus, walking around. I mean, there were some really interesting characters. I don't know why he came to mind, um, but just like the people that show up at the film festival. What else? Producers that are working on feature films. That there's also a screenwriting competition, so there's screenwriters there. Everybody was like dressed up really nice. It kind of felt out of place, Everybody it's Vegas, Um, I wish I could give you something more juicy. There was no celebrities that I could notice. It's very indie, kind of independent. Yeah.
Well, was there maybe another filmmaker that you saw his film and you're like, it really kind of got a hold of you, sort of like a yours?
Yeah, in our block there were 8 other films, and each one was super unique and interesting in its own right. There was 3 actually that really stuck out, and I'll get you the names of them. And you know, something different is really rare because everything kind of looks the same now, right? And so that was what really stuck out. These 3 other films, they were like so different. One was just, it was all music. There was no talking, right? And it was just kind of like a love story. And it worked without any dialogue. I was like, oh, that's pretty clever, you know? Um, so that really, and then also the acting, like, how did they get such good actors? Like, it's an indie film. Like for our film, Laura and Aria. Aria played the amazing Richard, okay, and Laura plays the assistant. Okay, I don't want to give away the ending, but it's not a happy role for her, okay, because he's very deranged. But the energy that they give off each other, um, you know, it's it's something that you can't like rehearse. It's not like we're rehearsing it. It's like they're feeding off their own energy. And I don't have a budget. This is a passion project, and like the other independent films, like there's these actors aren't getting paid stuff. Like if they are, it's like stipend, like gas money, right, to do this. So it's all just passion, and they're all just bringing their own talent, um, and so it really stood out in some of these films where the acting is just so good, and and yeah, yeah, I don't know. I think a lot can be done with passion. And, you see a lot of big budget movies. You pay them a lot of money, and the acting's really bad, right? So it can't be solved with money.
Yeah, it has to be pure talent and also how much they want to work and stuff.
How much they want to work. So maybe because you don't pay them, that's why you get the best acting. Maybe that's why the acting was so good at the independent film, the Vegas Indie Film Festival, is because precisely that they're doing it just for the passion, and they're in the flow state. Even the people that were interviewing us at the red carpet, like, it's a huge opportunity for them too. Like they're young models and actors, and they're interviewing, and it's an independent film festival, so they're not necessarily like, you know, uh, it's just passion all around, right? I was talking to one of the persons, the interviewers, and she said it was her first time interviewing. You wouldn't be able to tell. Like, she seemed so professional. And they had a bunch of these interviewers. I imagine, I don't know if this is something they were doing a lot, but it had me fooled. Like, so that's kind of the amazing thing about these film festivals. It's not like Sundance where it's a big machine, right? These smaller film festivals are just kind of held together by love, and everybody just kind of devoting their time, much like how these short films and there's feature films too, how these independent films get made.
Okay. Was there a sort of thing for like the public to go see them? Was there free tickets, or did they have to pay like a ticket price to go see these? And
Yeah, it was $16. You could buy them off the website.
okay.
Yeah,
but most people bring their families and friends and stuff.
Yeah, they had to pay. I mean, they give you like the festival pass. I got to see all the movies, and you get to bring people. I get they're not gonna charge for like your wife or whatever, whoever you're bringing, your producers. But yeah, it was a ticketed event, and so you went on the website and bought tickets, and I don't know the breakdown of it. I'm assuming it was mostly filmmakers, friends, and family in the audience. But they've marketed it. Maybe there were people from the general public. It certainly was open to the general public, and tickets were for sale.
Okay.
Yeah.
And don't worry if I'm sorry I'm asking you stuff that
No,
promoter and everything should know. It's
No.
just that I feel like I
You
should
need
ask
to write an
the question in
article.
case, yeah.
Yeah, you need to write an article about it too. I feel like this is a lot for you to kind of sift through, to write an article, but it's good for the video. So
No, it's great. Don't worry about me. I can figure it out. I have it.
I'm worried about you.
I got it all in here. So
I care about you.
I have it all up here and stuff, so I don't forget things very easily. Were there awards given out, and did yours win any?
We won Best Sound in a short film. And it's like, best sound? What's best sound? But the big thing about a movie theater is you don't have on a regular TV is surround sound. And the 5.1, you have these speakers all around. You have the 0.1. People allowed to say, what's the 0.1 in the 5.1 surround sound? That's the bass, okay? And the bass is what gives it that big theater feel, right? So editing it at 5.1 surround sound is really nice to get noticed, and we won Best Sound Short Film.
Yeah. It's probably has to do a lot with the music and stuff. I noticed that when watching the movie. You kind of have that music that kind of rises the tension and everything.
Yeah, it's really important for me whenever I make a movie, even if it's a short movie, that it's atmospheric, and it pulls you in. How do you do that? You really have to do that with sound, right? Sound wraps all around you. And I had a professor in film school said sound is 50% of video. But maybe it's more than that, right? If you're watching Star Wars, it's like more than 50% is probably the sound, right? And so, yeah, in our film, sound is really important to be able to set the tension of this deranged magician, and then to release the tension. So how do you do that? Sound.
And you had a band do the music for this film, right?
We licensed the music.
Oh.
It's licensed, yeah. Terrific. I'll give you the artist names. They're really terrific.
Well, some on the credits.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wasn't sure if they were like a friend, of yours, something that made music.
Not yet, but I'd love to meet them. They were terrific. Yeah. The sound, the music in this. We tried a lot of different things, but this fit because again, the music, you don't want it to like take away. You want it to be atmospheric and kind of be in the background as much as possible, right? Yeah.
And so you said you submitted this. Where was it that you submitted it? Like on Film Freeway or something, or?
Yeah, Film Freeway. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Film Freeway. This is the first festival that I submitted to, and the first one that I heard back from. I'm looking for. I don't want to wait forever because some of these festivals are years in advance. I loved Indie Vegas. I was looking at Indie Vegas, and it got great reviews. And if you're a student filmmaker out there, or any kind of filmmaker, or you're like an old filmmaker like me, go to filmfreeway.com and look at the reviews, I would say, of the festivals, right? If you're not going to submit to Sundance or something like that, Sundance is a great festival, right? But other than that, you want to look for the reviews. You want to see what do people say, what do filmmakers say about the festival. Did they actually screen the movie? Was there an audience at the movie, right? Did they give out awards, which is kind of cool because there's some recognition. Yeah, we got really lucky. Indie Vegas was hit all those boxes. State of the art movie theater, great sound, big screen, people were there. So I recommend submitting to Indie Vegas. They were a great festival. You want to look at submission fees? Like some of these festivals, they're gonna gouge you, right? It's like a big money making thing, right? And you don't want that. You want it to be a passion thing where they're clearly doing it, to help filmmakers, kind of as a nonprofit kind of thing. I think would be the way to go.
And then they charge you a rate to put your movie into submission?
You have to submissions range from $10 to some of these ones will gouge you, like they'll pay, you have to pay like $100, and you should never really pay more than like $30 for a submission is what I would recommend. Otherwise, how much money do they need to watch your movie? So Indie Vegas, it's $30. It was $30, which I thought was incredibly reasonable to screen the movie. And they either say yes or they say no, and you hope that you didn't throw your $30 away. It's not a big deal, for the opportunity to screen. But some of these festivals, if it's like $100 to submit, and I don't mean to give a whole bunch of advice, but I feel like there are people that have films. They're like, what do I do now? And it'd be great to screen it, right? But you can't just like $100 here, $100 there, and nobody's screening your festival and they just take your money. It's kind of it's messed up, right? So protect yourself, look at the reviews, and really limit it. I wouldn't pay more than $30-$40 to submit. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah.
From your experience?
Yeah, I've had that too, where they're expensive, and I just do the free ones, and I'm like, I don't need to.
Yeah, if you could find some free ones, let me know. I like the sound of free.
I don't know about screening. Well, I know we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
I know a guy who can help you out.
Cool.
But yeah, another reason to do a local film festival here.
Yeah,
give those opportunities to people.
Yeah, have a student film. I think we should have a student film fest that, for sure, have a lower entry fee for that, right? And just you need to have something so that you can have some kind of apparatus, right? You can't just lose money. You can't lose money putting on a film festival unless you're Bill Gates or something.
Right. So did you finance the film yourself?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I want to. This is a question I want to talk about. Actually, I think this is really important to talk about. How do you make a movie? Right. I told the rabbi I made a movie. He said, how do you afford a movie? A movie costs a lot of money, and that's the perception, right? So how do you use what you have at your disposal, right? How do you use what you have, right? So for The Amazing Richard, we have a summer home. The family has a summer home. My grandma, who's 90, and special thanks to Tamra for letting us use your summer home, right? And she was enthusiastic about it, right? She actually, and I've always had this idea of, this would be a great setting for a horror movie. It's in the middle of the forest, right? And I finally got the nerve to work up, Grandma, can we film at your summer home? And I did talk to the aunts and the uncles and get everybody's permit. The whole family was really excited about this idea. And so it's in Inverness, and we went to Inverness. Before that, when I was in college, we did a short film and he took advantage of Santa Barbara. We had a beach right there, so we shot on the beach, and then we filmed in the desert, and drove a car off a cliff and blew it up and did all that. So it looks like $1 million, right? Or in the forest, you're filming in the forest. Like, how do you film in the forest? Like, how do you, you know? It seems like it's something where it would be a big budget, right? And so how do you fake that? Like, it's not a big budget. It was free to me, right? And um, so and that's not just for filmmakers. That's for if you're a small business owner, right? And you're making a video. Think about what you have that you can use right now. Do you have a cool office? You can shoot at the cool office. Like, do you have a cool listing? If you're a real estate agent, you got a big listing. Don't just do a listing video. Shoot some marketing material with the pool in the background, right? Now you're looking like I'll keep it professional. I was gonna say you're looking like a baller, but I won't say that. But use what you have, and then it can look really expensive, right? And so yeah, I think the only thing I spent money on was I paid the actors gas because they had to get to Inverness, and then like I bought lunch for everybody, and I bought coffee, so nobody would be hungry. Um, Music licensing, right? That I already pay for my real estate videos, right? I already have the camera. That was it. Is food. Come on, a couple $100 for food. It costs more to, if I want to submit to like 20 festivals, that will cost about the same amount as it was to make the movie.
Yeah, especially how crazy they are with the pricing and everything.
Yeah, well, like $30 times 20 would be like 300, right there. That's what I filmed. Don't pull out a calculator if I'm wrong on YouTube.
Well, 30 times 20 is 600.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Yes. I'm an artist.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's fine. We can cut that part if you want.
I'm sure you won't, but that's okay. That's don't negotiate with me too hard if you're gonna I can't do math so well.
You say use what you have. That Kevin Smith said the same thing.
Okay.
Use what you have, and he was like, I have a convenience store. So
he has
a convenience store. That's why he did Clerks.
Is that true?
Well, it wasn't his, but he worked at one, and he was really cool with the owner. Owner was like, yeah, fine, go ahead, and
there it is.
Clerks.
There it is. 100%. Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people say that use what you have. A lot of directors and stuff when they start out small, especially for those '90s guys like Robert Rodriguez and the guys who did the indie thing and then moved up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just use what they have.
Use what you
Settings,
have. Use what you have. Yeah. We had to buy. We did have to buy an axe. There's an axe in the movie.
Approximately, like, what was the film budget total? Like, you think
$300 for food.
that's all you had to spend on was the food?
Yeah, I mean, okay. We bought an axe. We bought a couple gallons of fake blood, prop blood. Yeah, I mean, it came out to a couple $100. Yeah, we shot it in one day, right? All day. So we got there at like 6 a.m. and we shot till the end, till there's no more light. Everybody was very uncomfortable. Like the actress is just drenched in blood. Very cold in blood. Very a lot of sacrifices being made to make this movie. There's no trailer that she can go and run to. When we're done moving, like everybody is they're just there and they're making the movie with passion, and it's kind of like a torturous experience for everybody. Like it's torture for me because I'm like lugging around all this equipment from. It's just me and we had two other people helping. I thought I just have one assistant, but she brought her boyfriend, so we had two other assistants. But it's like torture. It really is. It's like torture, but it's great. I mean, I'd have it no other way.
Well, I saw that interview you did, and you mentioned that as well. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But I did one of those 48-hour film festivals, and I think the first day we were just spitballing ideas of what to do, and then. I think I went to sleep around like 3 a.m. in the morning or something, trying to write an idea or something, writing the script. And then the next day was all shooting. And that was grueling, to spend that whole day, Especially when I had to take like a nap in the car and stuff.
Was that at a college?
Class, I was still going to college at the time, but it wasn't for college. Like, it wasn't the college that set up that little challenge or whatever. It was I can't remember. It's been a while. It was maybe like more than 5 years ago. I think I don't know.
48-hour
I
film
remember,
festivals are insane because you have 48 hours to not just film it, like to come up with the concept, like everything, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was all, and then they throw you like little thingies to put into the film.
I love those because one of the hard things about this movie, we shot it over a year ago. Okay, and just sitting, I'm editing it, it's not quite right, and it's sitting there, and I watch it, it's not quite right. If you don't have a final end point, then the movie can sit there. This is like anything, right? When you know when it's done. If it's an artistic thing, it's never done until you say it's done. Like if you don't have a deadline, an artist will never be done, right? So that's why I love the 48-hour film festivals. They force you to be done with it, and by the same token, like it's good to submit to a film festival because, okay, at a certain point you have to be done, and that gives you a something to work towards, right? Yeah, a lot of incomplete projects.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because I had a question about that. Is you could see that everybody's energy is sort of coming down as the time goes by, and you're like, if you mess up and stuff, they kind of catch onto it and they get a little angrier and stuff. Where you're like, I just need this one scene, or something. You as a director, how do you sort of kind of rile the troops back up and keep their spirits up high until shooting is done?
You have to have a shot list. As a director, they're looking to you like, is there a means to the madness? Like, we're okay sacrificing our energy, our passion, our time, our comfort, all these things, but we want to know that it's going to turn out, like that you have something in mind. This is my theory about it. Like, as long as you, as a director, keeping it going, moving forward. All right, next shot. All right, another take. Right now, set up here. And you're able to construct it. And the only way to do that as a director is with a shot list. And a lot of directors, they don't have a shot list. If you're only having 48 hours, it's really hard to have a detailed shot list, right? You don't want to be too. Sometimes I hate shot lists because they pigeonhole you, and then you're like not being creative. But you need to have a shot list, and you build from that. And then you see, I have time to do something creative. I didn't see that this would be a good shot because I didn't know the environment until I was there, right? And when the actors and the crew, they see that you're organized, you're going to get it done before we run out of light. That does so much to where they're willing to really sacrifice a lot, because they know that it's going to pay off for them.
Yeah. How long did you take to write it, and how long did you take to cast and stuff before you shot those 24 hours?
Yeah. Aria, who plays the amazing Richard, and Laura, I had worked with on a series of audio drama episodes that are on Spotify. And there's actually The Amazing Richard and Sorcerer Saul is an audio version of the short film that's on there that Aria is in. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. You're asking about the actors, how they
like how long did it take you to cast them and get everything prepared for that?
Yeah. It was organic because they had already been working together on these audio episodes. Gave me the idea like, whoa, we should go shoot a short film. Like, I'm a screenwriter and I've written these audio episodes because I wanted to sell my screenplay. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just do a short film too, because that's so much fun. Okay, maybe that won't help me sell a screenplay. Maybe it's just a passion project, but you guys are so good. And as an actor, it's really hard for them to get stuff on the reel. Like, these are two like really young actors, right? And Laura's in LA now, right? She just moved to LA, so now she's getting big roles in LA. And Aria does a bunch of stage shows. He does musicals. And he's based in Sacramento, right? And so it was organic. It was like, man, you guys work so well together. They're in the same acting coaching program. based in Sacramento. They were at the time. And so, yeah, I was like, let's do a short film. And I said, I love magicians. I love magic. Like, is it real? Like, is magic real? Like, things that you can't explain. And I even asked the rabbi, I was like, is magic real? You know, and he had a really interesting answer for that. That I won't make it religious or anything like this, but basically, magic is real magic. It's kind of bad. You don't want to mess with that. You don't want to mess with real magic. And so this got me thinking, like, what if I had a villain who wanted to actually, like, who believed magic was real, like really thought he could cut a woman in half and put her back together. I'm like, that's funny. That's really funny. It's like trying to find a way, and he can't. He just keeps cutting women in half. Can't figure it out. And I told Aria the idea and Laura the idea, and they loved it. They're like laughing and they loved it. And so they agreed to it. So then I wrote it. And then we were going to shoot it, and I changed it like the day before, which is never a good thing to do. But it was very organic. So it wasn't just like, okay, I wrote it, now let me find actors. It was like I found the actors, I wrote it for these two actors, and then I talked to them, and as we talked, it went on. He actually came up with the chant. So he does this chant, where he's like, before he cuts her in half. I'm giving it all away, but he came up with the chant. So some of it's improv. Like, and he goes and he's really like talking about how magic's real, and he's talking about this. And I said, just go with it. Like, go off the script like you're manic. And I showed him a video of like somebody who's manic, and he's such a good actor. He's looking at this, and he's just like, he became this manic, deranged magician. He's not like this in real life at all. Like, he's like really reserved, but I say action, and man, it's really spooky. And you can see it in her. Like, she looks like she's really creeped out. Yeah.
How many people did you have as crew? Because you only had the two actors.
Two actors, and I had one assistant, and she brought her boyfriend, and so we made him assistant AD. We made him the second AD, or first AD rather, because we were only one assistant director. And then she was the makeup and makeup lady and blood effects. Ashley Woolley, I'll give you the spelling, and then Eric Stachowski. They're all based in the Bay Area. And then, Aria and Laura, just the four of us.
So just three behind the camera, and then...
Yeah, just me, Ashley, and Eric. Yeah, Ashley was helping out with the makeup. She did the clapper, right? And then Eric helped set up the lights and plug stuff in and help me move stuff, carry around the food so that Aria and Laura could have snacks the whole time. That's another way to keep them happy. We always had snacks and I asked them what they wanted. So they always had their favorite snacks all around them the whole day.
Yeah, that's a good way to keep them there. Yeah, you're really advanced if you have a clapper, because I remember having to do my hands together and stuff for the clapping. And my hands would be like blistered at the end because it was so much making loud.
Whatever works. Yeah. Whatever works. The clapper. Yeah, it's my lucky clapper.
Yeah. So you do the real estate, videography, and you also did weddings before. Did those things help you with your directing style?
Yeah, 100%. Weddings, you only have one chance to get it right. You can't say, okay, let's kiss again. Let's have the first kiss, do it again. Like, no, we kissed. That's it, right? So you have to get really good at figuring out the right angles to capture things. And that applies well to a shot list when you're thinking about how to shoot a film and you're thinking about different angles. Yeah, for sure. The real estate videos, it's kind of like the flip side, like applying what I've learned from weddings and film school, working on movie sets, screenwriting, and applying that to create more compelling social media videos. where real estate agents are just like reading from a script, but are actually like being directed and talking. So that carries over from working with actors. Actors are really like tense, and once you break down that tension, a lot of the time they can give an amazing performance that they didn't even know they could give. But they are afraid a lot of the time, and we're all afraid of taking risks. And so, as a director, it's your job to let them know you're safe. It's not going to be in the movie if it looks bad, and for that, they have to trust you. And so, you have that trust element, whether you're working with an actor or a small business, then they can really, I call it, put their authentic self forward. And if you're an actor, you're not acting anymore. If you're acting, it looks fake. But if you are really being real in the moment, like if Laura really is scared because Arya really looks creepy, then she's not acting anymore, you know? And she wasn't, because when we said cut, she'd be like, oh man, you look so creepy right now. You know, and they're friends. They drove together. They carpooled together. They drove home together. They're in acting, once a week they do acting together. But in the moment, she's like really creeped out by him. You know, and he's really this person. So whether you're an actor or a real estate agent or whatever, it's like, be it.
How do you gain that trust for you? Well, I mean, these were your friends before, and you've known them for a while. So, but how do you often find that you have to gain trust of an actor? Like, what is your little gateway to them?
So it's like it's a balance between. You gotta call them out, like, because they know when they faked it, or and they're hoping they can trick you, maybe, right? Or they trick themselves. They're trying, but if it's not there, you have to say, okay, that didn't work. Like, we gotta try it again, right? And eventually, like, they'll see, okay, wow, he knew, like, I wasn't feeling it, like. He can see, like, he's helping me. So as long as you're helping and not hurting, but that's the fine line, because then if you don't want to like make them think like they're not doing anything right, and then they're closed off, right? So how do you coach them? I like to say, like, Barry Bonds needs a batting coach, right? And so how can you be a batting coach to Barry Bonds? Barry Bonds is like, I would like to see you hit 70 home runs, right? No, it's not about that. It's like having an outsider saying, nice swing. And he knows whether he was a good swing or not. I mean, he does if he's a bad swing, and the batting coach says, it's all right, stay on it, right? He's like, okay.
Brad Pitt talks about Quentin Tarantino. He sort of has these little mannerisms when he's directing that kind of give you like a good job sort of thing, and they kind of go higher and higher. Each little thing that he does, sometimes it's thumbs up, sometimes it's the okay, sometimes whatever it is. Do you feel like you have something like that maybe you're not aware of or something, but maybe you do have?
Yeah, I try to keep it deadpan, and I was taught you don't say anything unless it doesn't work. But in practicality, if they're doing something really good, I like to nod or smile subtly, but not like. That's interesting that he gives a thumbs up. I would be worried that maybe, I think if you want more, then I would be like, okay, like, give me more, right? But if I just really like what they're doing, I might not do anything. I would be so afraid to mess that up. Like, I don't think I would smile or anything. As long as I don't say cut, I try to explain to them that, like, I like what you're doing.
Yeah. I don't know. That was just...
It's a really interesting question.
These are going to get... The first half that we did was more of, like, the sort of, like, plain, just questions about the event and stuff like that. These are going to be a little more deeper, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. I'll stop talking so much. Jeez,
No. Please. Talk as much as you can. Do you have enough time to
talk to go
totally.
Through these? Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Is there water or anything I can get you?
No,
or anything?
all
You're doing
good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead.
Sure.
Like I said, they're gonna get a little more, be a little more focused on the film and your directing and stuff like that. So, how many films have you directed before Amazing Richard?
So the first, let's see, let me count. First Drink was my first college movie. Apparition was the second. That's where we drove the car off the cliff and blew it up. That was big. That was at the Santa Barbara Film Festival and Action on Film Festival, and then my third film was Wilcox, and that played at the DC Shorts Festival. This was all college. Wilcox was also college. And then Speed Dial I did 2011 with the comedian Brent Weinbach, who is an Andy Kaufman Award winner. He's the funniest comedian I've ever seen in my life is Brent Weinbach. And so if you can catch him, he comes here occasionally like Cobb's or Punchline. He is so funny. And that movie, Speed Dial, another short film. That was just a short comedy movie, right? So I'm kind of like, all my movies are either kind of thriller horrors where someone dies, unfortunately, at the end. Not to give anything away. Or a comedy that's just like a stupid, silly comedy. Okay? And what I've done is I've merged these together to make, dark comedies. This is what I want to do. Dark comedies. So I have a feature-length screenplay about an army of man-eating robots that invade San Francisco. And I shouldn't say man-eating. They eat women too. And so, how do I shop that around? It's a dark comedy, right? People are reading it and telling me it's a horror movie. I'm just saying, I wrote it strictly as a comedy, and people are telling me it's a horror movie. Okay, so I got this idea. Maybe I'm like a dark comedy writer, right? The Amazing Richard definitely fits that. It gets a big laugh. The Amazing Richard gets at least 2 pretty big laughs in 6 minutes. But it's bloody, and it's really a horror movie. So I think this is this was the 5th movie, right? We counted 5. This would be the 5th, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, Jordan Peele, Danny McBride, they've all gone to horror, and they were all comedic. Well, still are comedic and stuff like that. But yeah, I've seen that happen where I think Jordan Peele talked about it, where he said, like, you have to know what's funny and kind of break that, and that's what horror is. Sort of thing. I don't know.
I could see. Yeah, I mean, all horror is funny unless it's like creepy. But if it's really horror, like somebody's like their head getting cut off or they're getting stabbed, like I don't know, it's so absurd. How can you see that and it not be funny? Like Scream and all these horror movies, even like Friday the 13th and Halloween, like there's funny moments in them, right? Like, am I just crazy? It's funny, right?
No, I think it's sort of like the Leslie Nielsen effect, where if they play it straight, it just comes off as comedic for some reason. There's just something strangely funny about it.
Yeah. How do you react? Like, how do you react to this? It's so absurd that you have to laugh. There's a scientific term for that, the psychological thing that happens when you see something so crazy and you don't know how to respond. You just start laughing.
And you can see when people talk about like Friday the 13th or something, which the big thing is like the murders in those movies and stuff. How crazy they go and just keep getting crazier and crazier as the film series goes on. But I mean, people talk about them with like smiles and stuff. They're like, her head gets blown off by a spear gun. And it's like,
I mean, I like the idea. What I've heard about The Amazing Richard is that it's fun. I've heard that it's fun, right, from several people now, more than several. And I love that because, why are you laughing at horror movies? It sounds like horrible, like horrible that you're laughing at blood and death and this kind of thing. But it's a release. Right, and we know it's fake, and we know it's not real. It's not like you're really laughing at somebody dying. You're laughing, and you're having this experience and this feeling, and you're making people feel good. So I have no problem with that.
Were the crew just like friends or people you've worked with before?
Yeah, I actually found Ashley through Craigslist, looking for a makeup artist that can do blood effects. Let me know. I reached out far and wide. It's very hard to find a good makeup gore effects person. Ashley did terrific. She put a big gash. She spent a lot of time on Laura. There's like a huge in the I guess you use latex, and then she colored it in, and yeah, real good effects. Yeah, yeah, she was great. She brought her boyfriend, so then we had another helper. Oh, more free talent, more free help. It wouldn't have been enough if it was just me, Ashley, and the two actors. That we really needed Eric, so we got that. We got that help. It's like, oh, thank goodness.
And something I forgot to ask was, uh, so you said you did this was your fifth movie, but what was the time between this one and the last one?
2011 was Speed Dial. So Speed Dial was with Brent Weinbach. That was, yeah, that was my most recent movie besides Amazing Richard. And in between that, wrote a screenplay, started the audio drama episodes. Um, but yeah, there, a lot of writing, a lot of projects not getting finished. You know, um, and I think that's a really hard thing, like we talked about earlier, like finishing projects, right? And you have to figure out a way to finish them. And it clicked. It clicked several years ago where I had this idea. Okay, well, you have to finish the screenplay, write an audio, do and these ideas that you haven't produced, put them out there in audio drama, so people can hear them and listen to them on Spotify. Make a short film, because that's going to help your audio drama. Hey, it's going to help sell your screenplay, right? You can't just have all these half-baked things that never get done and think you're making progress creatively. You're not. So there's a big dead space between 2011 and now, I guess, or a year or two ago, where just a whole bunch of like graveyard projects didn't get finished. Don't fall into that trap. Finish it, even if it's not perfect. Like, finish it, move on to the next project, right? My grandpa wrote Soylent Green, which is, you're probably like, what's Soylent Green? It's a cult classic in the 1970s with Charlton Heston. You're like, what was Charlton Heston? And I bring up that story because, somebody said, oh, you should write I had a producer friend in LA that I went to film school with. He said he had a connection at Amazon Studios, which bought MGM, which owns the rights to Soylent Green. So my friend said, college friend said, you should write the Soylent Green 2. And it's, and so I got really ramped up. I wrote Soylent Green 2. And but I let that fizzle out. COVID hit, and so this is an important thing, like to not do what I did, stay consistent with it, I guess.
It's funny because I just watched Soylent Green. I think just a few months ago. I think back in December, like all the way through.
Soylent Green is people.
Yeah. I know the whole thing because it's in science fiction all throughout. Futurama references it all the time and stuff. And anytime we play a video game that takes place in like a post-apocalyptic future, they always have Soylent Green as a food item or whatever. Right. It's just like a huge thing. I don't want to talk about it too much because that was your grandfather's thing. I don't want to focus on you.
No, it's not. Yeah.
But yeah, that's incredible that he wrote that film.
Yeah.
You said it here as well, and you said it in that interview of the Las Vegas Indie Film Festival. You described the process of making movies as torture. What part of this film, Amazing Richard, was it that you found the most difficult?
So the reason why it's torture is like not the actual filming it. That's like magical. I had this thought. I'm filming it halfway through the day, and we're getting ready for the big cut the woman in half scene. Okay, and I'm thinking, wow, I wish I could do this every day. This is so much fun. Meanwhile, I'm sleep deprived. I'm carrying like all this equipment. I'm like, there's so much cleanup is gonna happen at the end of the day. Like, it's crazy, and we're all exhausted. You had to get up. Brentwood from Point Reyes to Inverness is maybe 2.5 hours, and we're starting at golden hour. So we're starting at maybe 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Right, that's when the light comes up, around 6 a.m. So I think I packed up the car at like 3 a.m. Something like, so you're just so tired, Everybody's so tired. Everybody had to get up really early. We want to do it one day. Why? Because 2 days that costs more money. Like 2 days of food, 2 days of gas, like 2 days of time commitment for people that have real jobs, real things to do, right? That's why it's torture, because you're trying to squeeze it all into one day and you're tired. But in the other sense, it's like the best kind of torture. It's like kind of torture I'd sign up for every day. So that's the other side of it.
Something I forgot to ask again is it took you so long in between your last one between now. What was it that drove you to say, I need to make this one? I'm not going to make this a graveyard project. This is the one I'm going to make.
Mm-hmm. The actors, these two actors. Because a lot of it is like, okay, there are ways to find actors, but it's hard to find good actors. And you find good actors, and you know they're good. And it's like, oh, what's stopping me? Right? I have the camera, I have the location, I have the actors. Let's go. That was what it was. These two actors, Laura Marie Roberts and Arya Kanayazev.
So you're also director of photography, right? You're the one behind the camera. Do you do lighting and stuff like that? And do you also do the sound yourself, or do you have a little system that does it?
No, we taped on lapel mic. We hid lapel mics on them. Taped them to the shirt.
I mean, that's a lot of jobs for you. You know, even in like student films, I don't see a lot of people doing all that. You know, a lot of directors and stuff.
Yeah, no, I had the car packed up, and I said to my wife, I said, you know, if I come home and this is actually a movie that can be made, I was like, you know, will you be impressed? And she said, she forgets this conversation, of course. She said, yeah, I'd be impressed. You know, because it struck me like, oh, you know, I'm wearing a bunch of hats here. Okay, I'm creating the shot list, filming it, making sure the sound works, you know, and I'm catering, you know. I want to make sure everybody's comfortable. But it's so much fun. It's so much fun. And the cameras are easy, you know, I shoot on a Black Magic. And there's a lot of the way that it shoots, you basically can choose the color after. You know this, but I'm explaining it to them. Like, you choose the color after you film it. So there's a lot of leeway with the cinematography. It's not like film where if you mess up, you mess up, right? But even still, like, my strong suit, I feel like, is writing and directing, not necessarily cinematography, but it's fun. It was fun. I was doing it all. It was a time. I should have put myself in it. Then I really would have done it all.
Yeah, that was one thing missing. And then you do the music yourself.
Yeah.
Like John Carpenter.
I should have done the music myself too. I didn't know he does the music. I didn't know.
John Carpenter?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The only one is The Thing, which was Ennio Morricone. And even then, it's still like kind of Carpenter's and stuff, because he basically directed Ennio Morricone's score and stuff. No, it's incredible. I have one of his albums that he did recently. Now he does a lot of music and touring and stuff of his themes.
That's cool.
Yeah, you gotta listen.
I didn't even know. This was the first time I shot it myself. Like Speed Dial, I actually hired a cinematographer for Speed Dial, and my other movies always had someone else behind the camera. But this one, you know, I think all my experience filming weddings, you know, and having, you know, working with realtors, I just a lot more comfortable behind the camera. Yeah, but I went to film school. A lot of people think, oh, you went to film school, you're studying video. No, you're studying film theory, watching movies, right? So everything's kind of self-taught in terms of film.
Yeah, that's how it is. A lot of people are, you know, kind of surprised by that. Yeah, I think John Carpenter's the only thing that he doesn't do was lighting, he said.
Okay.
He said that, I don't know.
Yeah, the lighting. Yeah, we just shot, you know, we tried to make the most of the natural light.
All right. Francis Ford Coppola has this thing that he likes to call gremlins in movies, where things just, for whatever reason, just go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens with everybody. You know, you can prepare for the worst, and then lightning hits or something. Was there anything in making this movie that you sort of had to work around with, and you ended up going, oh, actually, that worked? Something like that?
I kept waiting for that. I believe that 100%. it's very true. I was waiting for this movie. What was going to be the thing? Um, it's happy, but like my grandpa, I this is my grandma's house, but really like it was his house. Like this is where he would go to write. This is, I imagine it's where he wrote Soylent Green, right? I felt like maybe that didn't happen in this movie because it was odd. Like everything went right, and to the point where the trees blew with wind when it was supposed to. There's a moment when he's like just looking at her, and it's a dramatic moment, and the trees just start moving in the wind, and it's like, oh, who planned that, right? So it was the opposite. Instead of gremlins being against us, it was like gremlins for us. There's one thing, we lost a packet of blood. That she was gonna have blood oozing out of her mouth as she was like being cut, and we lost the blood packets, and we're running out of light. That was the one thing. And I don't think it mattered. I mean, it may have been weird to have blood coming out of her mouth as she was cut. So it worked how it was.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that happens. It's like the little things that change the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like second student film I did, we just didn't have sound. Oh. And there was a lot of dialogue in that whole thing. And we were filming the party scenes. It's this movie where it takes place. They're trying to remember like this party that happened the night before or something. And they just make up their little own stories, hangover-ish kind of thing. And we just didn't have sound. And then we just went, okay, that part's going to be silent. We'll just have music, and then it'll be them describing the night before. Yeah. It actually worked out to our advantage. So, like,
you got to. Like you have to work with it. You have to work with what you have. If you have to, if something had happened, we would have worked with it. We really, like I said, I was waiting for that gremlin. It just didn't. It was like, it felt like a gift. Because it's not normal when you're doing a project like that, and especially at all these things going on that I was in charge, doing all of it myself, right? So I wasn't. It felt like magical that it all. It felt magical that it all worked out.
Let's see. So what is it about? Like for you, you said it was torture, but it's good torture, bad torture, and stuff. But what is it that you get that really is like I did good? Is it the audience reaction to it when they watch it, or is it just watching it as you're editing? Like what is it for you that it comes kind of together and you're like, it was worth it. Whatever issues, whatever headaches, whatever lost nights I had, this is what makes it worth it.
Yeah, definitely screening and hearing the reaction it gets, and you get a feeling in the theater like whether it works or not. And so that's why I like comedies or horror movies, because it's even more clear to get that feeling whether it worked or not, right? Because either they laugh or they don't laugh, either they're like or there's no reaction, right? So getting that reaction, why do I care about that? Why does that make it worth it? I'm not sure, but something like very rewarding about seeing a movie in the theater and getting a reaction to it. If there's no audience, it wouldn't feel meaningful. It feels meaningful because there's an audience. And it's weird because you want to do things for you as an artist. You don't want to do things for other people. But maybe if you do something for yourself and other people laugh at that, maybe that's what the feeling is. It's a good feeling, like oh, I'm not alone. Like other people. I was doing this for me, and it worked for other people too. Like they also are crazy. Like some people are as kooky as I am. It's a good feeling.
I know, and then when I was like in college and stuff, I knew a lot of people who were trying to make movies to like appease the audience and stuff. And I was like, I think if you just be genuine, the audience will find you.
100%. And whenever you try to appease the audience, you make things that miss the mark, I found. But if you do something like for you, you find the most authentic, genuine audience. In fact, like the audience that you want the most, the audience that really is gonna root for you because they genuinely like you and what you've created, and you're not tricking them into liking something that's not authentic to you.
Right. I think they can sort of sense it that there's sort of like a phoniness to it. I mean, you could fool them with everything in front of the camera, but you can't fool them behind. I don't know. sort of like this weird thing that they kind of
Yeah. I mean, like for The Amazing Richard, like I don't think everybody would get it. You might watch it and not laugh at all. That's okay. Like, but if it's a filled movie theater. If you don't laugh, you're probably gonna be like the odd one out that doesn't laugh at. That's fine, because nothing's for everybody. But it is really rewarding that something as crazy as an idea about a deranged magician who believes he can cut a woman in half and put her back together and keeps trying to do it over and over again isn't just funny to me, but it's funny to other people. Like that's like a cool feeling to know. Yeah, it encourages you to do other crazy projects, you know, to see if you can get a similar reaction from people.
So I mentioned to you before that I sort of saw like a little bit of David Lynch with that, like the worms and that kind of thing. Reminded me of Blue Velvet, the quick cutting.
I'd never seen Blue Velvet.
Really?
No, but I watched the clip after you said that because I was like, oh yeah, interesting, huh?
Yeah,
totally.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people kind of make connections of their own and stuff, and then you realize, oh no, it was actually this movie.
I love that. I was wondering whether I should bring that up. Yeah, it totally got
But also, I mentioned Black Phone with like the quick cutting and that sort of film graininess. What films or filmmakers are like your biggest inspirations? It doesn't have to be specifically Amazing Richard. We'll get into that in a little bit. But like overall, which were the like filmmakers that you were like, that's what I want to do?
I don't really like horror movies. The closest thing, M. Night Shyamalan. I was really impacted by The Sixth Sense and like Unbreakable 1 and 2, and I'm like his movies are really cool. But besides that, like I'm not really into horror movies. Like I like Scream, I guess. But really the movies like when I was a kid, I think they say know the person at age 5 and you know them at 50, right? And I'm not 50, but I like Back to the Future as a kid and Jurassic Park and The Truman Show, Man on the Moon, like any movie with Jim Carrey, Robert Zemeckis, Chris Columbus, and 16 Candles, John Hughes movies, Home Alone. Like these are the kind of movies like that I really like, or just I guess family movies really. Like my mentor in college, William Deere, I met just randomly at UC Santa Barbara, and he directed Angels in the Outfield, which was one of my favorite movies as a kid. So I get to meet him at UC Santa Barbara, and like that's how I got to work on movie sets, was through him. But like meeting a director like that you look up to, right? He directed Harry and Henderson, so that was really cool, like working with him on some movies. But not horror movies, just fun comedies, I guess. That's why I thought I would be making movies like that, and maybe that's why nothing got finished.
I mean, no, I don't think so. I think like it just happens where they sort of hit like this thing that they didn't realize. I mean, John Carpenter, I hate to mention him again like so much, but he's a huge inspiration of mine. John Carpenter, master of horror, wanted to do westerns. And you see that in some of his films, but like Big Trouble in Little China and stuff like that. But I mean, he just does horror. It's just his thing. I don't know, and I'm sure even he kind of regrets not doing like a real western kind of thing. But it's just how sometimes it happens. Again, Danny McBride, Jordan Poole. I'm sorry,
I love Danny McBride.
Jordan Peele. Comedians and very funny people do horror movies.
Yeah. Wait. What Danny McBride? What horror movie?
He wrote Halloween, the remix.
I love Danny McBride.
Yeah.
No, it's weird. I feel like I hit something with horror. Like I feel like I could write a horror screenplay about The Amazing Richard. In fact, I'm starting writing the full length screenplay about The Amazing Richard. I feel like this is just going to write itself.
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, you just find that sort of genre. So were you always like a movie fan as a kid and stuff, or? Yeah,
I'd see in the 90s. 2 movies a week. Stanley, my grandpa, and grandma, would take us to movies, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and saw pretty much every movie in the 90s in the movie theater. And now those theaters are closed. Berkeley, they closed them down. It's hard. The only thing is these big megaplexes, and a lot of the smaller theaters got closed down, which is sad. But yeah, as a kid, seeing at least 2 movies a week, for a good number of years, So I was thinking about it. I've seen hundreds of movies in the movie theater during that time. Like, name a movie from the 90s, I'll tell you what movie theater I saw it in. I don't know, are you like that too? Can you remember, like, where you saw movies?
Yeah, well, like it makes people laugh, but the thing that I was like, that's what I want to do, you know, in terms of being an actor and stuff, was I was 4 years old. I think I went to the United Artists in Emeryville, which is closed down now, to go see The Matrix.
Yeah.
I was maybe like 3 or 4.
He is so cool.
Yeah.
Like, and I heard he's really cool in person too. Like, I heard he's, like, really, like, down to earth, which is rare in Hollywood, I guess. But,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's cool. I always saw a lot of movies at that Emeryville theater before they built the AMC across the way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember that when the AMC was new and stuff. I miss that United Artists, and also I lived like a few miles, I think, like maybe like under 2 miles away from Grand Lake Theater. So I would go see it at the Grand Lake all the time.
Oh, the Grand Lake. Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's where I saw The Mask.
Yeah, I remember going to go see like 3 times to go see Shrek.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And they, it's so rare. Like, a real curtain pulls up before the movie.
Yeah. No, and then they have organ players sometimes.
Oh, yeah. The Grand Lake's just classic. Hopefully that never gets shut down.
I hope not, because I love the Grand Lake. It's, always it's good and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Did you write or direct first? Like, was it writing first and then directing, or was it directing first and then writing?
Writing. So, yeah, when I was 16, I wrote my first piece. I wrote an episode of Smallville. It's like a TV show based on Superman on the CW, I think, at the time.
I think it was like Warner Brothers or some WB or something like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I was really into Superman, so again, with my grandpa, I told him, I wanted to be a screenwriter since when I was a little kid, and I figured out that my grandpa was a writer. I said, I want to be a writer like you, right? I was totally starstruck by it. So anyway, doing silly stuff. But finally, at 16, I'm like, okay, I'm going to write a TV show episode. And he sat me down, and we counted the commercial breaks. And he said, this is how you write a TV show. You build up the climax towards the commercial break. So really, I started with the idea I want to be a writer. I want to be a writer. And then, in high school, as in like, to really be a writer, you need to be an actor, right? So I was in some student, or what do you call it, like, high school plays and community theater musicals, and I was voted best thespian in high school, right? So just realized pretty quick that I wasn't going to be an actor, but that was very helpful, like, to know what actors deal with, right? We went like to the Ashland Theater Festival, and so I got to really see what actors deal with, right? And I knew that wasn't going to be me, right? So I went back to writing, wrote that episode. It was a great experience. Didn't sell it, but I didn't really know how to sell it, right? And then in college, okay, well, I can write, so I should direct something. Because we're learning about all these movies, but no one's making movies, so I had this idea. So it started as writing, then directing, and acting kind of in the middle. But I think you have to start as a writer. Like, if you want to be a director, and I've heard this, to be a director, you have to be a writer. Because you have to know how a writer thinks in order to direct. And also, I think you have to be an actor. I mean, you really have to do all those 3 things if you want to do any of them. To be an actor, you have to have experience writing and directing, I think, to know what we're dealing with on our end.
I mean, me personally, yeah. I mean, it does help a lot that I've written and stuff, and
yeah,
it sort of makes you come up with things that they didn't expect or whatever. Just more creative whenever you do either of those things.
Yeah, like improv, like it makes you better at just thinking on the top as an actor,
yeah.
And a director knowing what we're thinking about from the camera, like the technical things, like where to look. Yeah. What lens to look, what eye look at.
I've heard stories of Quentin Tarantino wanted to be an actor at first, and then it was like, okay, this isn't for me, but I understand the actors now. So that experience helped him with directing and stuff.
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
He's a great actor, though. He's he's one of the best actors.
Yeah, I mean, some people find him a little strange and stuff. I don't know. I think directors, when they put themselves, kind of already have like a thing against them. Not always.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Alfred Hitchcock is in every one of his movies, but he never, like, talks or anything. He's just in the background or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's just something against like a director being in the film or something. Not always.
Yeah.
Because Ben Affleck does it. You know, he's a star and stuff. He's an actor, so he understands acting and directing. I don't know. Sometimes it just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. Sometimes. Not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that about Quentin personally. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There's that sort of like thing in the back of people's heads.
Yeah.
But I think he is.
Yeah.
I think he is very comedic and stuff.
Yeah.
For somebody who's just mostly behind the cameras.
You know, I saw him interviewing at the Santa Barbara Film Festival, Kirk Douglas in his 90s before he passed away, and Quentin Tarantino was asking him. Quentin Tarantino was asking about all of his movies that he did, you know, like the 40s or whenever Kirk Douglas was around, right? And Kirk's like, Quentin, I'm 95. I don't remember.
Yeah.
This is like the whole interview was like, I don't remember, Quentin. I don't remember. Quentin's like, well, what about this? Do you remember when you were on the set here? And you know, it was Quentin Tarantino. I would love to meet him. Like he seems like he's like a film buff, like the director's film buff, right? Like he worked at a rental store. Anyway, this is gonna be a great YouTube video, hopefully for the press. Hopefully this gets a lot of views.
Yeah, I mean I hope so, but I'll never know. Yeah, I've seen that too, where like directors ask other directors, and the other directors are like, "Oh yeah, it's very easy." Robert Rodriguez is very. He has this whole show where he interviews directors called The Director's Chair, and he was asking the guy who directed Mad Max. I can't remember his name. George Miller.
Yeah.
Certain questions, and George Miller's like, "Well, you know, it's like this," and he's like, "No, I don't know. It's easy for you, but I don't know what you're talking about." Yeah.
I have the opposite problem. I just ramble on too much. I
No.
don't envy you with you having to write this article with going through all this. So.
No, I'd rather have this than somebody who just gives me one answer questions. So please talk as much as you want. I feel bad because I'm talking about myself and I shouldn't be doing that, but
you should.
Yeah,
we gotta work. We're gonna work together.
Well, I just want to make you more comfortable, so that's why I'm opening up a little bit and stuff. But
please.
It's bad for this.
No, it's good. I think it would be boring if it was just one person talking, at least for the YouTube part of it. Yeah.
Let's get back to you, the person that matters here. Was there a moment where you were recognized for writing or directing that made you go, "Wow, I can really do this"? Like, was there that moment? Was it you with your grandfather writing that episode of? I'm sorry, it was I can't remember. Smallville.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Superman.
Yeah. There's a moment when it wasn't then, because as a writer, you're constantly trying to think about. Is it good? Is what I wrote good? Is it any good? Is this good? And that's a paralyzing thought, because then you don't advance. You just are thinking constantly, is this good? And you're not. And the truth is, no, it's crap. But you have to keep going, because if you don't, it's never gonna. There's no hope it will be good. Instead, is it good? No, not yet. It's not good yet. Right? So this is a breakthrough that I had. Whereas I know enough from going to film school, from watching hundreds of movies, from reading other people's writings, from reading books about screenwriting, from taking screenwriting classes. I know enough that it's good or not. Okay? And when I say it's good, when I feel what I wrote is good, I'm going to trust it. And when I feel like what I wrote is crap, I'm going to trust it. Right? Not to discourage myself, but in order to trust myself. Right? So that happened really when I was writing this recent screenplay about the army of man-eating robots that invade San Francisco. And I was like, this is funny. This is funny. And maybe it's not Shakespeare. It's definitely not Shakespeare. But this idea of a robot that craves human blood, designed by the military, kind of the CIA, covertly, I just trust it that it works, right? And so there's a website, maybe you've heard of it, called the Blacklist, and I submitted to the Blacklist to get feedback, right? And by no means, on a scale from 1 to 10, it was by no means like a Blacklist selected script or anything like that. But I got enough feedback from enough people that pretty much everybody said this is really funny.
So unfortunately, we had to move. the space was taken, but hopefully nobody realizes that. I'm just gonna keep moving forward. Um, so you said you're not a horror guy. What is like your favorite genre then?
Definitely my favorite genre. Um, it's like sometimes movies really surprise me, but I think thrillers. I think I really do like thrillers now. Yeah. Um, but and this is not a genre name, but just '90s movies. '90s movies. Just going back in time. Like, there's something about '90s movies. Maybe it's just like you're coming back home. Like, if you grew up, the movies that you grew up with, I love that. So I love, for May 4th was yesterday. We just watched the Star Wars movies again, right? So I love watching old movies. But if it's a new movie, if it's like a thriller, psychological, like a psychological thriller that really starts making you thinking. We just saw Baby Girl. Have you heard of that with Nicole Kidman? Oh, that movie is so Baby Girl. Like, oh, I don't know if you can play that on the press because it's kind of X-rated. Okay.
No, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I'm aware of the film. Yeah.
Well, if you like psychological, like power dynamics, like the power, and it's a 2 hour movie, and you can't take your eyes off this movie. And the director is a young woman director on Twitter. She's on Twitter, which is so cool when the director is on Twitter because you can actually like connect with them and see what they're doing.
Great. Um, is there any other genre you'd like to tackle now that you've done horror and stuff that you like? I really want to do this one.
No, I think I'm going to be focusing on dark comedies or dark horror movies. Horror comedies for sure. Yeah, I think this is what we're doing now. This is what we're doing.
Okay.
Because I was saying, I'm 39 years old. I've been experimenting a lot with what I'm going to do, comedy or this, right? So, really, horror comedies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Horror filmmakers often take innocent childhood items or performers and then turn them into like horrific monsters. I wrote down some examples. Clowns is a big one, with It. Dolls like in Child's Play. Puppets, Puppet Master, and stuff like that. What was it about magicians that you decided to turn into a villain?
Yeah, I like this idea that you know I had this magician who would come to my birthday parties, and he's just beloved magician. Everyone loves magicians, but there's a dark side to it. The whole sawing in half trick. Magicians really pick on their assistants a lot. They tend to be a young woman. It's not PC. And so I thought about this, taking it like a sinister turn to it. It's already there. That's kind of the shadow of magic. Magician, tormenting his young, beautiful assistant, right? So it's there. And I'm surprised there hasn't been a horror movie about that. There's a magic show in San Francisco called The Magic Patio. And I saw a performance at The Magic Patio. Have you heard of it? He started his own magic show in the city out of his apartment. He's like a really interesting magician. And I just went after this show. It just hit me like, man, like what if this guy like really believed what he was doing was real? Like, he seems like he does. He creates these weird machines and teleports things. The Magic Patio, I highly recommend. So that was the idea. Like, it's just very natural, organic. I love magicians, and I thought, okay, what if magic's real? Like, and how would that be in a movie? What would that be a movie? What would that look like as a movie?
So going to the actors now, I'm sorry if I got
Arya.
Arya
Knyazov.
He plays the Amazing Richard. He's very intense, but his delivery is like very soft. He's almost like gentle with his delivery, but you look into his eyes and it's just a maniac. But he's not over the top. Was he what I know you wrote it for him, but was he what you envisioned for the Amazing Richard, or did you imagine him like a little more manic, or?
He is such an amazing talent. I had no idea what to expect because I had worked with him on an audio podcast, audio drama episode before, where he had taken this character I wrote and completely done something I had never imagined. It's called Hank. The episode's called Hank. And so I thought with The Amazing Richard, I don't know what to expect. Is he going to do what he did with Hank, this character Hank that I wrote, and add his own thing to it? And that's exactly what he did. Totally. I don't even remember what I had in mind, because what he brought to it was, and that's, by the way, a great actor, right? And they show you something that you had no idea that's what it was going to be like. That it really was like him. I did tell him, this scene, you're manic. And I showed him a little clip of a manic person, and then he just went to town, And at the end of this, scene, when he's talking about the magic's real and this and that, you see it in his eyes, and you totally just believe it. You totally, like, it doesn't feel like he's reading from a script. Like, it just feels like he's just going crazy right in front of you. It's so disturbing. And you see it on Laura, because Laura's looking and was like, I don't know if she even has to act. She's just reacting like the audience would be reacting to seeing this.
Well, that's what I wrote. I wrote Laura Marie Roberts plays the assistant. She doesn't say much in the film, but you could see she has this thing where you could see like the fear in her eyes, and she just has this really innocent face, which is perfect for a horror movie. Is that maybe why you did horror or something? Because you just felt like she needed to be in a horror film, or was it something that she brought that, I don't know, maybe you kind of saw from other like horror starlets or something like that?
Yeah, she definitely has this like innocent look to her, and I know that she could pull off whatever you throw at her. But the roles for young actors are really horror movies, right? And they're doing this as a favor to me. I kind of want to make sure that it's helping them, right? So why did I do a horror comedy? Was it because I felt like this would be the best role for them? Did I feel like this was the best thing for me to make? There's some mystery to it now. Like, why did I choose to make this movie? I think like it all kind of went in. Like, this would be good for their careers as young actors to be in part of a horror movie. This would be good for my career because I've written a horror comedy about man-eating robots that invade San Francisco. And so this dark comedy would then kind of fit with that. It just all kind of fit, right? And so let's do it. And I have a house over here in the middle of the woods. Let's go, right? Definitely they were the right actors for this movie.
All right. Let's see here. I'm just going through because we actually touched on a lot of these questions already.
Good. We touched on a lot. But I wonder if I have any juicy news things to tell you.
Well, you dedicated this movie to your cousin Justin Gruen.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable talking about that, that's
okay. No, I am 100%.
But what is it that happened there? That why did you dedicate it to him?
So Justin, my younger cousin, who is always fascinated in filmmaking and my filmmaking projects, kind of one of my biggest fans, and then he was supposed to help out on this film, but he suffered from drug addiction. He didn't make it to the. He passed away. And obviously wasn't able to help him on a movie. So yeah, dedicated to him. Yeah. So what I feel like is we had a lot of help from. I mean, it's kind of selfish to look at it this way, but I feel like he was helping us from upstairs, and you can still maybe feel their presence in certain ways. I felt like that the interesting thing about this, maybe that would maybe be good to put in the article, or not. I don't know, but it seemed kind of interesting to take note. The year anniversary of his death was the screening at Indie Vegas. And that wasn't a planned thing, obviously, right? So it felt like that was really special, right? The year anniversary of his death was the world premiere of the movie. And it went great. And it was a great screening. Movie screenings never go good. Just like movie filmings never go good. Like you're talking about the Gremlins that happened. The fact that the screening went well, Tarantino, I don't know if you heard the story with Reservoir Dogs at Sundance. I believe it premiered backwards. It either premiered without sound, or it premiered the ending first, and he was running up and down the aisles saying, "Stop the movie! Stop the movie!" Have you heard that story?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
don't know that one.
Yeah, it's a famous story because the idea is at a film festival, it never goes well. The film is reversed, or the film's upside down, or it's muted. Just like filming a movie never goes completely well, right? So the idea, this went well, and the screening went well. It definitely feels like, and that's not why I dedicated it to Justin. I didn't dedicate it to him so that everything would go well. But I do feel like that, we between my grandpa looking down on us, because it was his house where he wrote a lot of his projects. And Justin, who was supposed to be helping us, I feel like we did have help from the other side. That's how I feel about it.
No, that's a good way to view things and stuff.
And it's weird. It's a horror movie. It's a bloody movie. It's not really. It's kind of like, but still, I think they all came together even then. Even if it wasn't like the most artistic movie, it's a fun movie. I think they saw that it was fun.
Sometimes the stars align, and that's just what happens.
The stars aligned
yeah.
in our case.
I
think about Justin a lot. So, yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's very tough. That's why I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk about that. And if you want to not mention that in the
No,
piece,
I want him to get all the credit that he deserves for helping us in spirit. I felt like he really did help us, and same with my grandpa. That's why I mentioned those two people a lot, because I feel like they were with me in the making of the movie.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that sentiment of these people sort of looking down posthumously, or sort of like a spirit or something.
I feel it. Everybody believes in their different things, but that's, at least they're inside us at the very least.
It's the one thing you can know for a fact is that you do carry them with you. A piece of them you can carry with you.
Yeah.
So you said it took maybe like a year to edit this down. So when did you finish actually filming this movie?
About a year ago. And I edited it very quickly in like a week. But it's like, okay, it's not right. It's not right, So it's on and off, which I do not recommend. I think it's good to have an end date, a solid end date. But I really take my time with my projects, because I like to sit, watch it back, take another few months, watch it back. Yeah, so it wasn't like editing every day for a year. It's like, you edit and then take a few months, watch it again. Oh, okay. And things hit you differently.
And when did you find Indie Film Festival Vegas?
A couple weeks ago. I literally submitted because the festival was coming up, and he called me the next day. Peter, good news, we're screening your movie. I was like, okay, great. That was fantastic. Usually you wait months and months and months, but yeah, I would recommend that trying to find a festival with the venue date not so far away, so you can get that, because now I'm excited, right? Like, oh, we had our screening, and I've submitted to a bunch of other festivals. It's going to take months to figure out, whether we're accepted or not, but at least I have this, off to the races, feeling like we're off to the races, get on IMDb,
Was there, you said you're going to, you have already submitted to some film festivals. Which ones have you submitted to?
I can give you a list.
Okay.
I can give you a list. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
You just keep submitting to anything that pops up on Film Freeway, or?
Yeah, on Film Freeway, what I wanted to do is figure out niche festivals that were specifically interested in dark comedies or horror movies, short films that got good reviews, a lot of good reviews. part of that is like where are the screening venues, a real movie theater, good venue. Most of these are in LA. Yeah, I did not submit to Sundance or big festivals. You know, the important, it's a niche. And not to give too much away, but it's kind of playing off this B movie horror vibe. So a festival audience, that's into that is going to be really into that. But if you're into like a more of artsy fartsy, nothing against artsy fartsy movies, but this isn't an artsy fartsy movie. It's a different kind of independent movie, right?
Speaking of that, inspired by the 70s movies and stuff, the B movies, which you can see in the film, obviously, the way you filmed it and the little grainy and everything. I also was remembered of like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
The very beginning with the whole where it makes you believe like he actually did cut that little girl in half, and then she's just messing around and she gets slapped, and that's when the movie starts. Was there any other inspirations for this film that you kind of like watch and you were like, okay, I'm gonna use this and this? I mentioned Black Phone.
Yeah.
Was there anything like that you?
Yes. I was taught that before you shoot a movie, you want to look at how other directors maybe filmed similar movies from a shot list perspective, right? You obviously don't want to do this to write a movie because then you'll start, creating stereotypes based on other movies. You don't want to do that. But in terms of once you've written a movie, how do you shoot it? Look for movies similar, right? This is what I was taught. So I looked at the Prestige, and the Prestige was really impactful, and the other one I'm forgetting. They came out at about the same time. The two Magic movies. There's Prestige, and one of them was Christopher Nolan, and then the other one was anyway. I'll send you that to you. Those two movies. So I was looking at the way that they shot certain scenes, especially that last scene when Arya's performing the trick, right? And he's sweating, and it's so yeah. You want to get inspiration. How did other directors shoot the films? But in terms of like I had this idea like playing with sound. It's interesting. We won Best Sound because this was my idea going into this movie was like making it atmospheric. She's pulling up, and you're hearing like the windshield wipers. This was a big, like just setting the mood, right? And then having that get really loud with the, and it's this tension of like creepiness versus not. Yeah, I don't know if I explained that very well. Prestige, and I'll figure out the other movie else.
No, I've seen that before in films where they start off with that sound or something, and it just at first it's very slow and very light, and then it gets heavier and heavier, and it just creates this uneasiness and stuff. This creepiness, and it just kind of sets the tone for your film.
Yeah,
what it's gonna be.
Yeah, starting small. And then...
Yeah. And again, with like the worms thing, where you're like, "What the hell is this?" Like, what it's just uneasy.
Uneasy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to set. I mean, this is the movie. It's an uneasy feeling, right?
And it works to your advantage with Amazing Richard because there is comedic stuff to it, and you do laugh at that. But I mean,
I hope so.
Yeah, but it's not completely a comedy or anything. It's not. You know what I mean. It's not farcical because you start off with that whole tone that, well, things are gonna get worse. Just wait.
Right. I mean, in my mind, it's funny because it's uneasy.
Mm-hmm. That's
why it's funny. Like, she gets a big laugh when she says, "So we're doing a magic show." Okay, that's not a funny line. So we're doing a magic show. What's funny about that? Why does everybody laugh at that line? It's because you're watching this and you're feeling so uneasy. You're watching somebody go crazy right in front of you, and it's an indie film, and you're wondering like, how are they gonna what's gonna happen after this? And then they cut to her. What's she gonna say? It's the perfect setup only because of what happened before, right? That's why it's funny, is because it's not funny.
Yeah. Well, it's just sort of like letting out the gas where you're like, whoa, okay. Like,
Yes,
oh,
exactly.
yeah.
Yes, letting out. Yes, exactly. People are so relieved.
Yeah.
Oh, we can. Oh, that's funny.
And then it picks back up again, and then it's so tense, and
Exactly.
then you hit them with the scares. Yeah.
Yes, that's the
Um,
idea.
Yeah. So do you want to make feature films? Because I wrote these down, but we've already talked about that.
Yep. Yeah, The Amazing Richard will be a feature screenplay that I'll try to sell.
Do you want to? Do you have like dreams of like taking over Hollywood and stuff? Some people are like, want to be outside of the Hollywood system. Some people want to be so in.
Yeah.
It's just how people make preferences.
Okay, so I want to. I'll try to make this brief, but this idea that we should be making more movies that are not multi-million-dollar movies, but we should be making more movies around the $200,000 range. What do those movies look like? Some of them are going to be artsy-fartsy movies, okay, and that's great. Some of those are really great. The King's Speech is one that comes to mind. Like not all of them have to be like really weird movies that don't find an audience, okay? But most of them will be. Unless you think about what people really want to see. Those are the movies I want to make. I want to make movies that I want to watch. What kind of movies do I like to watch? I like movies that make you feel something. I like psychological horror, psychological movies, right? And I like to laugh. So there's an opportunity to make more of those movies. Like there's a director I really look up to, Anthony from the Sharknado series. Okay, and he's kind of cracked the code. Like none of his movies ever lose money because they only cost a couple $100,000 to make, right? And he's making movie after movie after movie after movie after movie, and he has like a really devoted audience that love his movies. That seems like great. That's what I would like to do. I'd like to make movies like that, not just like once in a blue moon and making a $20 million movie. Number one, that's unrealistic in today's market. Look at Hollywood. Like look at the opportunities. Like you don't even have real established directors doing that, right? Doesn't seem like there's much opportunity for that. But is there an opportunity to make $100,000, $200,000 movies? Yes, I think so. And I think you could, I don't think you have to be in Hollywood to make a movie like that. Actually, I think that you can find investors even around here and make a movie like that. Here, there's a lot of great venues, and you don't need to buy permits. Like in your LA, you gotta buy a permit to film everywhere. So that's why I want to talk to you more off the record about how we can collaborate too.
Well, it's good that you mentioned the Sharknado guy because he's Antioch native as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's from around here.
How do you know? You talked to Anthony?
No, I've never actually met him, but one time I was watching a movie. Because I don't want to admit to the FBI to something.
Oh, fair enough. We'll talk up.
Yeah,
Tell me the story.
So are you planning on making another short or a feature film? Is that what's next? What's next for you? Filmmaking wise.
Yeah, writing. So currently writing this Amazing Richard into a feature length movie. All the VIPs coming to the Amazing Richard. He's going to give them a VIP magic show, right? So kind of like a whodunit. All right, The Amazing Richard did it. Yeah, I think writing screenplays and more short films for sure. The goal being to sell screenplays, to make a big budget by this, getting a couple $100,000, getting an investment to make a movie. If you raise a couple $100,000 and maybe raise $100,000. Make $300,000, right? I'm not looking to make $500 million off a $1 million movie, but something, raising some money and making a feature that makes money with an audience in mind.
And is that feature going to be the man-eating robots one, or do you have another one in mind?
For instance, like The Amazing Richard is a concept that you could do for $100,000, right? It's a B movie but it's like it's a hilarious B movie concept about a deranged serial killer magician. So concepts like that you can do for $100,000, $200,000, depending on really how indie you want to be. The sweet spot's probably 250, to get on Tubi or to get on Netflix or something like that, or Hulu. And you have an opportunity to make some money with that if it catches an audience. That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to go Anthony's route, and I think that's realistic.
I think the last
For what it's
question.
worth. Yeah.
Okay. I think the last question I'm going to ask you is, for people who do watch Amazing Richard, what is it that you hope they kind of get from it?
Yeah. After you watch The Amazing Richard, the idea is magic real? Besides just having fun, it was fun, that was a fun movie, like, there is a takeaway. Is magic real? And there's question whether The Amazing Richard did he actually do some magic, or is he just a murderous serial killer? Did something actually go on magical? And I think that we're left with that feeling in life. Some things we wonder, like, why did that happen, right? Was magic involved with that? If I have to take a deeper meaning, magic is what fascinates me. Is magic real? And that's what I'd like people to talk about. I think people do talk about that from my experience after they watch the movie. Is, did he really have magical powers? I don't know. Let me know what you think.